Hello, Resonate community, and welcome to the best and the biggest sales and entrepreneurship podcast in the whole wide world. And on top of that, welcome to my home. If you are watching this on YouTube on video, you would notice that the setting today is a little bit different because I am at home and I'm sitting in the comfort of my beautiful couch just wanting to talk to you. We've just had an amazing sales and entrepreneurship summit past week. And I thought to myself, before we get in studio, I want to sit and hang out with you guys and we can talk a little bit about what happened. And I can share with you guys the key nuggets that I actually took from the summit. We had the likes at the summit of Bulelani Balabala, Nomdeni Mdaki, Andrew Moodley from Access. We had Mushambi Mutuma. We had Tamia Nantikelele, who's the founder of Tolfema. Basically, this beautiful dress that I'm wearing right now, if you can see me. We also had Nyaki Shabango, who's from Club She Is. They're doing absolutely amazing things and helping people build funnels for their businesses and create systems that actually work. We also had Baledi Makoba, who is the CEO of 4Media, amazing in marketing in the advertising industry. We also had myself, yours truly, the host of the Resonate podcast. Who else am I forgetting? I think we had so many amazing people in the room and it was just magnetic, to just really be able to sit with people and learn. So these nuggets are what I learned, and I want to get into the first time because this resonated with me. And we were basically talking about what are the key fundamental things every entrepreneur needs to do for them to actually succeed and for them to not fail. And Mashudu Mudal mentioned something that literally took me by surprise, but it was like a big aha moment. And he basically said, don't die. Don't die. And what that resembled for me was like, whatever happens, don't faint, don't get weary, don't get run down, and keep going. Because I think it's no secret, if you're watching this and you're an entrepreneur or you've started an entrepreneurship journey or you've been an entrepreneur before, you would know that it has a lot of challenges. Some months you don't make money, some months you do make money. We go through so many things, but I think for me, that advice of just don't die, you will eventually get through it. And I think your ability as an entrepreneur to make it through those hard seasons absolutely and most definitely determine what happens when you get to the other side. So that for me was like my big thing. And I think every time I think about this, I really just think about that phrase, like, don't die, just keep going. He also continues to share, continued to share his story around how he started podcasting like way before podcasting became famous. And because of the nature of how podcasting, people weren't catching up at the time, it could almost seem like the business wasn't doing very well or the business could have failed. And the thing that he mentioned, which really gave me another big aha moment, was that I didn't fail. I started too early. Oh my gosh. And there's a lot of people who could resonate with that in the room, because what you then realize is that sometimes it's not that the idea is not great. Sometimes you're just an early adopter and you need to do a lot of work around education, or maybe it won't catch then, but eventually it will. But even in that, you will learn lessons that will lead you into something else. And I know a lot of people will come into my DMs and say, Mish, how do I know this is the right business for me? We barely ever know. We just do try and we build what we can right now with what we have, the opportunities present, and how much further we are willing to learn and do things, and then hope that it works. And when it does, great. When it doesn't, we move on to the next thing, or we pivot, or we scale or expand, whatever that might look like for you. So that don't die, amazing, really resonated with me. The second thing that I want to share with you guys is something that Bulelani Balabala said, which just also blew my mind. We were talking about how, what are also the things that people need to look at, basically answering the initial question that I'd asked the entire panel. And he said, get married to your numbers. And I cannot help but remember when my journey started as an entrepreneur, like early in the days, I'm talking like over 7 years ago. I just wanted to make money as a business person, but I was not married to my numbers. So what does being married to my numbers mean? And I'm going to interpret this in a way that I understood it, because obviously in a room where there are so many people will understand and interpret things differently based on their situations. My thing for me was like, being married to numbers means having a relationship with them, basically taking a look at them as often as you can. If you are in a marriage or a long-term relationship, it's something you do. You constantly are checking in on each other with the person that you are in love with and that you're married to. And I think it's really about that, is just have a hold on your finances. And I teach around this as far as sales is concerned. You will not know how much money a business can make if you do not have a revenue target and you don't know what the strategy is going to be to make that money. So if you say you want to make 100,000 Rand or $10,000 this month for your business, the question is, how are you going to make that money? Because if there's no strategy, it just becomes a wishy-washy number. So how do you then move your marketing efforts into actually making that money? So it's very important that when you're married to your numbers, there are goals, because every single couple, every single marriage, or in relationships in general, people will have goals around where they want as a union to get to. Where do you and your numbers want to get to? If you look at the end of this month, where do you want to be? Because only when you do that, you are able to start working backwards to be able to know what are the things that you need to do to be able to get to that point. You know that if you want a lasting and a fruitful marriage, there are certain things you need to do to be able to have that. So you should know that if you want to make 100,000 Rand a month for your business, these are the things that you need to do so that you can succeed. Very, 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 very important point. Get married to your numbers. What does that look like when we're talking practical terms and moving it into business? We're saying Get acquainted with your statement. What are you spending money on in your business? What are you not spending money on that is costing you more time? How can you move your finances in a way that allows you to make more money in your business? Because when you do that, you're able to free up more time. So, for instance, this is such a famous example that a lot of these gurus use, is the fact that if you are, for instance, a mom or anybody, and you say, "Oh, I don't have money. I'm self-employed. I don't have money, so I want to clean my own house." But you don't realize that cleaning your own house and doing your own laundry takes you about an hour or two a day. If you were to delegate and pay somebody to do that, what would you do with those 2 hours a day? You could find that with those 2 or 3 hours a day that you're doing those things, you can actually make more money to be able to afford 1, 2, or 3 more people to help you in various areas. So there's an opportunity cost every time you don't take a look at your, you don't get married to your numbers, and you don't really get to the reality of what do I have right now and what is the potential. You could find that you are making X amount of money right now, but you've got much more potential to make more money, but you're just not maximizing your time enough to make that money. But you can only find out all of those things if you're absolutely married to your numbers. Very, very important. Third point, Tamia said this, also answering the same question. Tamia Nontikela. She's the founder of Dothema, and answering the same question around what is the most significant thing entrepreneurs can do to be able to guarantee themselves success. I love what she said. She said, if you have YouTube and if you've got faith, you can do anything. And it's basically what I phrased in my mind, learning with faith. You need to have the ability to learn all the time. She referenced, and I think we posted this on our Instagram story, she referenced the fact that she doesn't want to become a Nokia, who's a company that was big in cell phones, but several, companies like i.e. Apple then came in the industry now, and they're dominating, and we barely know anybody with a Nokia phone at the moment. And you have to look at that for yourself. Are you inquisitive enough about your industry and the things that are important to you? Very, very important point to always remember. You must be inquisitive about your industry. Learn. What are people in your industry doing? If you're a coach, what are the other high-level coaches that are earning money that you want to make? What are they doing? What are the practices that they're putting together within their businesses that is causing them to succeed? Because only when you do that, you actually are able to start implementing it. And that's when faith comes in, because you are now implementing with faith that things are going to work. And I mean, if you've been to any of our events, workshops, and the podcast, you know that part of the core foundation of it is that I am Christian and I like to run my business. And I normally educate a lot of people around building their businesses and their sales Christ's way. And when you look at it like that, you realize that faith becomes an important part of how we do businesses. We don't just like act. We act with the belief, truly spiritual. And from just like a centered point of view, believe that this is going to work out and I am going to be successful and I'm going to build something that is important. So learn with faith. Be inquisitive about your industry. Be inquisitive about what it is people are doing. Be inquisitive about how you can be better. It doesn't matter how much money you're making right now. And I think sometimes, which is also one of the points that I raised during this conversation, was that complacency is a thing. Sometimes you can wish to make 100,000 Rand a month. And then once you've made 100,000 Rand a month, you feel like that's it. But it's like, no, that's not it. There's more you can do. So how do you then position yourself to be able to make more, to be able to break other grounds? And you can only do that by being willing to learn, to see, actually, now that I'm making 100,000 Rand, there are people who are making 1 million. How can I get there? What do I now need to learn? Because sometimes, for instance, when you make that 100,000 Rand a month, you probably have a couple of followers that are cool. They know you, they interact with you. You're getting the magazines, you're getting the podcast interviews, you're getting all of this PR that makes it look like, wow, this business is so successful. And that's where a lot of people crash. So complacency is literally a thief of success. You need to be able to continuously be willing to grow and learn at whatever stage that you are in. Even when you're small, the attempt is like, oh, I'm too small. I'm starting up. I don't know if I should learn. I will never. No. At every stage, you owe it to yourself to continuously learn, put action to it, have faith when you're putting that action. Very important. My fourth point, I'm saying episode because I'm such a podcast babe. The conversation I had with Nomdini was so powerful. I think it brought tears to so many people's eyes because we were talking about personal branding, but I had no idea how personal branding is so personal. Oh, it was such a big shocker for me. I was just realizing that it's self-explanatory. Self-explanatory, yeah. Self-explanatory.
Yeah, you're good.
Self-explanatory. Self-explanatory. Yeah. Why is that word not like sitting well?
Yeah, it's not coming out.
Yeah.
What's fluid?
Yeah. Anyway, it explains itself. It's personal branding. You are branding a person, right? And the conversation initially was centered around business or personal branding. And also if we were to build, how do we build a business brand, which is our services and our products to be represented in certain markets without our faces being there so that we can create sustainable platforms and businesses. But also from a personal point of view, where now personal brands are literally the currency to getting more business, to getting interviews, to really just making more money and having impact and gaining trust from people. So the question was around like, how do we begin to do that? And she just broke down these 5 steps that she's been sharing at these masterclasses. She's been doing nationwide masterclasses, personal branding masterclass. She's got one coming up in May, as well. Back to Joburg again. She's toured the country and now she's doing another one in Joburg again. So if that is your vibe and you've been thinking about building a personal brand, please hurry up and go, because it's really going to blow your mind. And the big thing for me and my big takeaway was like, you will not be able to build an authentic, and by authentic, we mean a brand that is able to persuade people to take a certain action, whether it's transactional, whether it's moving into the success that they need, whatever it is, a brand that will be able to do that is founded on the core principles of the person. It's founded on, it's almost like the core of who you are is what the brand eventually becomes. And a lot of people don't know the core of who they are. A lot of people don't know how to sit with the core of who they are. So essentially they do themselves a disservice and it becomes very hard for them to build a brand, or they build a brand that is fake and is not authentic to them and who they are and their call over their lives. And then eventually when certain things happen along the way, they crumble. Very, very important to realize that it always has to start with self. She spoke so, I'm speechless whenever I think about that session, or every session, the entire summit, so speechless. But personal branding, the takeaway for me and the point that I'm trying to make to you right now is that personal branding is so personal. It is a you thing. You have to work on yourself. You have to be developing yourself. And then in that journey and that process, you get to get in touch with experts like herself and several people within the different industries that you want to get into to start getting the strategies and the help and the tools that have helped other successful people to run, so that you don't have to spend 4 years trying to figure out how to build a brand when you can get a strategy that can help you build it in a year or 2, or literally just build and fly, but in a more sustainable and great way. My last point came from the sales masterclass that I did. I was so honored to hear that. That was a big highlight for a lot of people for the summit, because we had amazing, it's like every single panel was like, whew, mind-blowing, breathtaking, and all sorts of ways. So it was very important for me to kind of close it off with really tying everything out. What I did not do in this video is share with you guys a lot from the AI panel, because I'm hoping we'll be able to piece up some pieces of that panel and be able to share it with you guys, but we'll see. But so much was shared in there that I don't even think I've got the words to articulate, or the terminology rather, to even explain, but it imparted so much on me as far as how AI is not only the future, but it's now. Like, that just blew my mind. Okay. My last point was, you're either selling or you're being sold. This for me has become so true in a lot of things that I've been building. Whenever you find yourself getting stressed, anxiety, feeling like you can't move and there's a blockage somewhere, you're not able to when there's just so much commotion, I need you to know that you're being sold. You're either being sold the lie about who you are. You're either being sold about false market trends. You're either being sold a depressive story, a depressive self-perception. You are being sold something that is not tied to the will of God. And to almost, even maybe to explain it better, you are being sold to distraction towards what it is that you're meant to be doing within your life. It is important that you don't get sold, but you start selling. So when you sell, what happens? You are the one in control. You're the one in control of your day. You're the one in control of your conversation. You're the one in control of how you are interacting with your customers. You're the one in control of the brand and the perceived value that people have of you in the market. You are the only person that is in control of all of these things and all of these spheres, because it is your business. It is your dream life, and all of this belongs to you. So I just wanted to use this video as a point of encouragement to share these 5 points for you. I mean, I'm literally doing an injustice to all the things that were shared, and I wish I could just get everybody to have come to that summit one way or the other, because it was life changing, and I cannot even begin to explain the experience. But what I really would love from you to grab from this point is, you don't have to die. You can just keep going. Okay, get married to your numbers. Very, very important. Know what is happening in your business. I can't stress this enough. Learn in faith. Be willing to learn all the time and apply faith when you're taking that action. And the 4th one, personal branding, is personal. Work on you, and that way you start walking the journey to actually building a brand that is authentic enough for the call that is upon your life. And the last one is, you're either selling or be sold. And I just want you to know that you've got the power to be selling every single time, and you can refuse to be sold. You can refuse the negative thoughts. You can refuse not having the strategies. You can refuse being complacent with where you are. You can refuse to die. You can refuse to give up. You can sell yourself the dream that you actually want. And that for me just does a glimpse of a summary. Now, The summit was such an amazing experience that I think everybody deserves to be part of. And I kept thinking to myself after the summit, how do we make this an everyday thing? How do we make this a regular thing? Because there's no way we're going to have something that powerful, so impactful from just a magical and an emotional point of view. There's no way we're going to have that every single year and then expect it to carry it. So I would like to introduce to you the Resonate Hub Plus membership community that we have just started and we're launching. It is basically a membership community where you get to join as a paid membership. And the whole key around this is how are we coming together to solve your problems? We're talking things like enterprise development opportunities. We're talking things like tendering. We're talking things like giving you access to certain information, business news that is happening, building community. There's going to be masterclasses by myself and some of the people that come on the podcast and on the platform so that we can talk to within that community to ask tailored questions. But what I know is that I want the feeling, the emotion, the insights, the impact of the Sales and Entrepreneurship Summit. I want it every day. I want it every week. I want it every month. And that's what this community is going to be about. I can't wait for you guys to join. The link is going to be down here. And we are basically piloting it this month of April for the first month. And we are only availing a special rate to the first 50 people that are going to join. So the link is going to be down below. If this is your vibe, please do click and join. It is going to be for 199 South African rands. You can join from anywhere in the world that you are in. We will see you in the Sales and Entrepreneurship Resonate Hub Plus membership community. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a good one. I will see you on our next one. Goodbye.